This is Dr. Kraus with another Intro to PLCs video, this time on counters. There are two kinds of counters, one that counts up and one that counts down, CTU and CTD, pretty straightforward. The key ideas, counters count rising edges, so it's not just that the input is true, but that the input has recently transitioned from low to high. The counter is done, DN, if its accumulated value is greater than or equal to the preset value. So that's our key counter condition. Reset is going to set accumulated back to 0. Foreshadowing, that's going to make a CTD by itself a little weird because it can't get back to this condition unless something were to cause the accumulated value to go up, and a CTD can only go down. So you can have a CTU and a CTD on this operating on the same tag, which is kind of the only way that I think a CTD really makes sense. By itself, it's not very useful. So like I said, key difference, count up means add to the accumulated value on a rising edge. Count down means subtract from or decrement or decrease. How many other words can I come up with that start with D and mean go down? Rising edges, so you're either incrementing or decrementing the accumulated value. Like I've said, CTD by itself doesn't make a lot of sense in that when you reset it, it goes to 0, and from there it can only count down. It can go negative, but it can only keep counting down. So nothing would cause, if a CTD were operating by itself, nothing would cause it to ever reach the done condition unless you were to manually set the accumulated value higher than the preset. So this is the counter data type. Sort of similar to a timer in that we've got a preset and an accumulated, and then we've got these other conditions. So a preset is what is the value that I'm trying to count to. Accumulated is what have I currently got as a count. And like I said, the done condition is when accumulated is greater than or equal to the preset. CTU means that my count up signal is still high, so it goes high when the rising edge occurs, but it just kind of stays high. I don't know what you would use that for, but it's just a piece of data that's available to us. It's a bool. Also, this is obviously a bool. Similarly, count down on a CTD means that my down counting signal is high, and it stays high until that input goes back low again. And then for whatever reason, we also have overflow and underflow. I guess if this was like an encoder or something and you were getting a ridiculous number of counts, this is a 32-bit signed integer. So the first bit is the positive or negative, leaving 31 bits for the, I want to say mantissa, but I might be using my math words wrong. So 2 to the 31st is a little over 2 billion. So I'm going to overflow at 2 to the 31st, maybe plus 1. And then I'm going to underflow at 2 to the negative 31st, plus or minus 1. If you're in the 2 billions and you're off by 1, I'm going to let that kind of be on you. Okay, so I want to do a demo now. First, I'm going to create a counter tag. I'm going to start from my blank with buffering program, which I'm going to kind of throw out there as what I think is the best practice, although I just made it up. And then I'm going to create my counter. I'm going to create an input signal to be the thing that I'm counting. I'm going to monitor the done. I'm going to have a reset. Google Slides thinks it's helping me by underlining this because it thinks maybe it's a URL or something. So pay no attention to the fact that that's blue and underlined. And I'm going to put that CU on output 0. And then we're going to look at a CTU by itself, a CTD by itself, and then the both of them together. So let's do that now. So this is what I'm calling blank with buffering. In rung 0, I've got a JSR that goes to buffer inputs, and my bottom rung will be a JSR that goes to buffer outputs. Buffer inputs reads my physical input signals and writes them to tags called in0 through in05. And similarly, my output buffer takes out00 through out05 and writes them to the physical output channels for my hardware. So coming back over here, so first thing I'm going to do, so I don't screw that up, is go to a file, save as. I'm going to call this CTU demo. And then I'm going to slap a new rung in here, and I'm going to grab N00, sometimes also called PB0. Those would be equivalent in my mind. And then I'm going to drop a CTU in here. And just like with the timers, I'm going to double click in here and call this my counter. And it's still going to be mad. And then I'm going to right click on it and say, let's make a new counter. It's going to know that I need a counter data type. Good to go. And so if I went into parameters and local tags, I would have a my counter that has the preset accumulated count up, count down, done, overflow, and underflow that we've been talking about. And then I'm going to give it a preset value of, let's say, 5. And then I had some things I said I was going to use for my inputs and outputs. Bear with me. Okay, so N00 is my counting up signal. I'm then going to put my counter, oh, sorry, wrong spot. My counter dot done. Is it going to auto capitalize that for me? Okay, great. And put that on out 02 for consistency with my slides mostly. And then we're going to have a reset value. So under counters, so we're going to read that from, sorry, need a new rung. How many times in these videos have I moved that toolbar? That's like the least helpful thing that I can imagine. Okay. So from N02, sorry, apparently making this match my slides, whoops, that's not what I want, is more than my brain can handle right now. And so I'm going to reset my counter on N02. And then I'm also going to, just for, I don't think you would normally do this. I don't think there's a ton of value in monitoring the count up, but just so we see what it does, I will put it on out 00. So I think, let me go online here a second, but I think, oh, lovely, okay. Let me do the lovely who active thing. So I'm going online with my known IP address, which right now should be the only PLC that's available to me. And I think I've followed what I said in the slides. Oh, whoops, sorry, let me finish doing that. So I've got N00, I've got out 02, I've got N02, and I've got out 00. I believe I did those in the way that I said I would. And then let's also, I'm going to show off the cool background that I took time to do, but also throw that up. Go, go, go. Okay. I think that's it. So on a rising edge of N00, my count increased by 1. I've got a preset value of 5. And my counter.cu says, yep, the last thing I did was to count up. And so if I go back low, this goes low, the counter doesn't change. I go back high again, and on that one rising edge, I accumulated another count of 1, and this went high again. And so I'm going to keep doing that, 3, 4, and then this is the key question. Is it greater than or equal to? And it's greater than or equal to. So now my counter is done. And it will keep counting up, but it will stay done. So there we are with an accumulated value of 9, still done. That's all I have to say about that. And then if I come down here and press 2, it reset my counter to, oh, whoops, I had it left high. So that's an interesting caveat. Apparently, if you leave it high, then resetting it, it counts that first time it turns back on as an edge. I guess that's just a detail to be aware of. So I'm reset back to 0. I count 5 edges or more. I stay done until I reset. Count up, and then reset. So there you go. And you might be asking yourself, okay, how is that different from a CTD? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think I have one of these, and so I'm just going to switch over to here, and hopefully all my inputs were consistent. We're about to find out. Let me also zoom in on that a little. So you can see that I've got, yep, so same stuff, except now I'm counting down on, whoops, I'm not online. So I switched the down stuff to in 01 and out 01, but the reset and the other stuff should stay the same. Okay. So I'm already done. Well, that's actually mildly helpful. See that I'm at 6 and I'm done. And so now if I have a rising edge on in 01, I decrement or go down. And my CTD stays high every time this is high. And I'm still at 5, so I'm still done. I'm greater than or equal to my preset value. And then as soon as I count one more, I'm no longer done. And I keep counting down from there. Now, like I said in the first part, if we then reset, we go to 0. So if all I have is a CTD by itself, now I can keep counting down as many times as I want, but I'm never going to be done because nothing would cause a cum to be greater than or equal to preset. And also, like I mentioned, I could come in here and reset this manually, and now it's done until it gets below 5. Maybe there's value in that, but I feel like by itself, a CTD doesn't make a ton of sense. But it is possible, and this was the other thing I said, that I can, sure. I'm not sure what I changed from where I was at before the demo started. So now, and I'm going to have to zoom in on this a little bit to make it helpful for us. So note that I've got my JSR in rung 0 and my JSR in rung N, my last rung. And so now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're just going to know those are there, but be able to see things and not care a ton about other stuff. So now, once again, have to go online with this new one. But I want you to see that I'm using the same counter variable with both a count up and a count down. Maybe there's some physical reason in the system that I'm creating where that is necessary. And sometimes my count can increment and sometimes it can decrement. And so I've got some variables here. It's actually, all we're really doing is kind of merging the previous two programs. So we're already done. So if we were to count up and then count down, we would eventually get to not done. If we reset, we go to 0, and then from there we count up on in 0, 0, and then we count back down on in 0, 1. But again, it's one counter variable for both counters, which is part of why CTU and CTD have the same condition of is accumulated greater than or equal to preset, and the reset goes to 0 for both because they are kind of designed to operate on the same counter, and you're really just counting up, and then occasionally you would have this optional counting down thing that you might do for whatever particular reason in your application. So, hopefully that makes sense. Key idea is a cum greater than or equal to preset, and we count edges. that is what we are saying. Edge counting, rising edge counting, if I'm really trying to be specific, and is my accumulated value greater than or equal to my preset. And reset sends me to 0, so a CTD by itself, not super useful. Thanks.